Now, our list is a little bit different from last night. Who's here? Brid Smith, Deputy Brid Smith.
I want to just talk very briefly about this amendment because it was introduced by its proposers as having stemmed from meeting somebody who survived a horrendous attempt at abortion. And yet you go on to read the contents of the amendment, and it has really nothing to do with that, but rather it is, as the Minister said, an attempt to undermine the whole sentiment of the legislation and the referendum we had on repeal the 8th. And just on a factual thing, I mean, I'm no scientist, no medical person, but I did have a look at this, and I spoke to a doctor friend of mine. And this attempts to rule out abortion in the case of disability and gender, where the pregnancy has not exceeded 12 weeks. In actual fact, up until now at least, in the medicine and the scientific community, one cannot determine the gender or the presence of disability until about 11 weeks, and then it requires a very expensive, very hard to attain test, and it's called a cell-free fetal DNA test. So what you're looking for when you take that test is you're looking for the chromosomal makeup in the fetal material, whether it has 2 X chromosomes, which determine it'll be a female, or an X and a Y, which would determine that the fetus would be a male. And the reason that anyone would try to do this at 11 weeks, it has to take place. There's no guarantee that you'll get the result, and certainly the result would not be available within a week, which would put you outside the limit of the 12 weeks that this legislation has framed. But the reason most parents or pregnant people would want to have this test is really linked to genetic disorders that are in the family, rather than the idea of trying to eradicate all the Down syndrome people on the planet. And that is why it is called a cell-fetal DNA test, and it's carried out to identify certain diseases that are linked to the X chromosome, which is the chromosome 2 of which are carried by the female gender. And rather than this being about how China or Pakistan, as it was put in, I consider, very racist terms, trying to eliminate females from their society, the test on the female, if it is carried out, is very much linked to, is there a genetic disposition to things like muscular dystrophy, haemophilia, Hunter syndrome. And this would be where a family be worried that they have a genetic disposition and they want to see if that's going to be the case in their particular pregnancy. And it's a very, 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 very rare test to have carried out, very expensive, very hard to attain. So this is really a ruse to try and deny women and pregnant people access to what is rightfully theirs following the May referendum. Just one other thing that it also mentions, because of race. I mean, hello, there is only one race, and that's the human race. Race is not determined by anything other than we're all human beings. After that, ethnicity is determined by the combinations of different genetic makeups. And anybody who wants to try and make out that race is a factor in this, it's really very shameful, because there is, as I say, one race, and that is the human race. And it's because there's conditions of disabilities that could be detected that a parent might take that decision. And isn't that sad for them that they have to do that, because they carry within the family dangers of genetic hereditary factors that could limit the lives of their potential children. So this is a ruse. It's all about trying to deny the reality that the people have voted to give women and pregnant people access to abortion without restriction up to 12 weeks. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. We have to really go against this one.